Welcome to the Brave Talkshow, the show for brave women craving the connection that comes with real conversations. We are four unique women coming together with different perspectives, passions, and experiences. Our goal is to foster healing and connection by making the uncomfortable comfortable. Let's be brave here.
Welcome to the Brave Talk Show. Bold woman, brave topic, and everything is on the table. Ooh, I did it. Today we are talking about therapy words we use wrong, trauma, triggers, boundaries, narcissists. Let's break it down. So everybody's in therapy, or at least using therapy words online, right? We call everything trauma. Everyone's a narcissist, and boundaries, somehow they've turned it into control. So today we are clearing it up without shame, without jargon, and without diagnosing people on TikTok or online. So let's dive into some therapy words that we use wrong or overused.
I love this. I feel
too.
like everybody's saying that their husband's a narcissist, or everybody's saying that they're, and there are definitely women who have husbands who are narcissists, but I think it's getting so overused that we're picking on people's weaknesses and people's fallibility and their human nature, and we're trying to label everything.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of the narcissist, I definitely hear it overused. And one of the big things that I notice is that somebody will pick like two traits that they've heard, and they'll be like, oh, so-and-so has it, they're a narcissist. And it's like, okay, wait a second. First of all, if we were to look at any one of these traits, and I can read them out right here. Every single person could probably say that they've gone through phases where they've
call me a narcissist.
What? Our sweet Brittany.
Right.
But
every person has maybe experienced one or two that they've gone through phases. Now, in order for you to truly have narcissistic personality disorder, you would need, there's sometimes I see there's 10 and sometimes I see 12, depending on like which one you're looking at. And I think, but you need to have at least 5 from what I've read on that list in order for you to actually be diagnosed. So 2, sorry, you're not a narcissist. I know you want it, or your spouse, or your boyfriend or girlfriend is not a narcissist. You may want to call them that, but that's not actually true. You could say they're being narcissistic right now or something like that, but to say that they're a narcissist is pretty extreme. So I can list them right here if you guys want.
Yes.
Okay. So in order for you to have narcissistic personality disorder, you would need to have 5 out of, and what I'm saying here is 9 right now. 5 out of these 9. Grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerating achievements, expecting to be recognized as superior without commensurate accomplishments. Fantasies of unlimited success, preoccupied with fantasies of ultimate power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Belief in being special, believes that they are unique and can only be understood by or should associate with high status people or institutions. Need for excessive admiration, requires constant, intense praise and attention. Sense of entitlement, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with their expectations. Interpersonally exploitive, they take advantage of others to achieve their own ends. Lack of empathy, unwilling or unable to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Envy of others, often envious of others or believes that others are envious of them. Arrogant and haughty behavior, displays conceited, arrogant attitudes and behaviors, looking down on those perceived as less important. Now, some ones that I've seen before as well that are not on this list, but maybe they're kind of a variation, and one that more women are more likely to struggle with, is what's considered more covert narcissism. And what you see in that one is included with all of these things is that they're always the victim.
Yeah, and I think the key words is grandiosis, right? Somebody may do something within the moment that just, and also it's big and grander, and it's a pattern. And the way we talk, when in psychology, it's like everything is a spectrum, right?
Everything's a spectrum.
Everything's in a spectrum. And you can't self-diagnose somebody because you're angry with them, right? It's kind of like, well, they're a narcissist, but it's because,
they did this one thing on the narcissist list in this fight. It's like, okay, but that doesn't mean that they have this disorder.
Exactly. And so because it's true, especially last year, I think everybody was a narcissist. I think every time I was getting online and somebody's mind is just like my narcissist, and I was just like, okay, at this point, who's a narcissist? Like you said, maybe then I'm a narcissist.
When you were reading that, I kept thinking Jodi Hildebrandt was all of those things.
Oh yeah.
All of those.
Am I missing?
She
Who's
was
that?
she was the Utah therapist that went crazy, and Ruby Frankie.
Oh, her.
She
Yeah.
was
So she fit all of those
partner
traits.
in crime. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And because they think so highly of themselves, they don't see themselves as a problem. Like they think that they are like the person, like everybody should love them. You know, they are your savior. They are the, the best thing that should have ever happened to you, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And it's just you have the manipulation and the gaslighting and no accountability. And you're about to see it. There's a guy on TikTok and he's diagnosed with being a narcissist. And that's what he talks to people. And he's in a relationship. So he tells people like how that works, how his dynamic of relationship with his partner work because of his, so you get to see his full blown, he get to show you inside of how
do you think
works.
He's just making it up?
No, he showed it. He's like a full on diagnosed, because only us, you have to be diagnosed by licensed psychologist, like a doctor, like nobody can, but he is diagnosed with it, and then he shares it with people. And so I thought that was kind of pretty interesting. But I think narcissist is definitely a word that we all can agree.
Fit it.
And you actually brought up another word in your description that I think is also overused, and that is gaslighting.
Oh, gaslighting. Yeah.
Can we define what actual gaslighting is?
I think I might have used this wrong a couple times. Or when I was first learning about gaslighting, I think I might have used it on Benton. Like, you're gaslighting. And he's like, excuse me.
He's like, what?
And like, oh, okay. And I think that's just natural to like, you learn a new word and you use, you find all the ways to use it.
So gaslighting actually originates from a play that happened in the 1940s. And I like it as a good, better understanding of it. It's pretty extreme, but if you can better understand where it comes from, then you can better see like how it applies and why I think sometimes it's overused. So it came from a 1938 British play called Gaslight. And it's where a husband manipulates his wife by subtly dimming gas-powered lights and denying it, making her doubt her sanity. A tactic that evolved into a recognized form of psychological abuse where someone is made to question their own reality. So that's the only time that it applies. But even then, you still have to be careful, I think, in doing that, because you could easily start using gaslighting as a term in a situation where you and another person have a different perspective on something that happened. Yeah. And then it's like they have a different perspective and then they're like, oh, well, they're gaslighting me because they're saying that my perspective wasn't true. And it's like, okay, watch out.
Well, that's just I think gaslighting is when someone tries to convince you of something that they did or didn't do.
Right. Or like someone makes you doubt.
Or like you got in a fight and they're like, I never said that. And you're like, I absolutely said that. I actually, in a former relationship, was getting majorly gaslit to the point where I would start recording things because I felt like I was crazy.
Yeah, because it's when someone makes you doubt of something happened and they're trying to tell you that it did not happen.
Right. So for an example, a boyfriend or husband cheating or wife cheating on their spouse, the spouse suspects it, and then the partner says, you're paranoid. You're crazy. Yeah. And then that person starts to think, am I paranoid?
Am I just the problem?
And meanwhile, they were cheating the whole time. That's
like
gaslighting.
It's like literally you've seen it with your eyes. You've seen it. You have it. And then this person's like, no, this did not happen. But because gaslighting is not a single disagreement. You know what I mean? It's not someone remembering something different once.
Yeah. If I say, that didn't happen. And we're just because we remembered it differently.
Yes.
That doesn't mean I'm gaslighting you.
Exactly.
No, gaslighting is purposely manipulating someone to change the story, the product, the buy.
It's like
the buy product, or like
it's like you see it, like I saw you kissing her, and they're like, no,
they're
that's
like, you're
not what
crazy. Like you can't be trusted. And then they switch the narrative. Have you guys heard of Darvo?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Google it. It stands for, I can't even remember it. Like divert. Google search Darvo really quick.
I got you.
That's like a huge thing with gaslighting. My therapist taught me about it once, and then I forgot what it actually stands for.
The DARVO.
DARVO.
That's right.
I can maybe.
We are looking it up right here.
Darvo is a manipulative tactic used by perpetrators for deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. So this has a lot to do with gaslighters. So the person who caused the harm first denies it. Then they attack the accuser's credibility. Then they flip the script, portraying themselves as the actual victim or the true victim. And this is like it's the highest form of gaslighting and emotional abuse.
Like that never happened.
Yeah.
Oh, you always causing drama.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
So they deny the wrongdoing or minimize the impact. They don't take
turn it back
responsibility.
I'm being attacked for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like top tier gaslighting.
Darvo? D-A-R. Okay. I'm
D-A-R-V.
I'm going to
It's
look it
like
up.
deny,
and spend some more time
attack,
on that.
Deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender.
Yeah.
So not only are they gaslighting you, but they switch the script and make you the perpetrator. And that
projecting.
I've
really.
had that happen. That's real. That'll mess you up.
What about the next word? The next word is boundaries.
Oh,
How do you guys
I've
feel
got
about
boundaries.
boundaries?
Got hard lines in the Just kidding.
All right. Of course, I want to say stuff, but I feel like I've overtalked, so I will share after one of you guys.
Talk about like
me.
what we were talking about, Cam, with the kids.
Let me just say this very
That
clear.
was good.
Let me just, because we've been giving
Definitions, right?
Boundaries are not about controlling other people. They're about deciding what you will do to protect your peace.
Right. So you can't say you're not allowed to do that anymore because you can't control that person. What you can say is, if you do that, I am going to do this. This is how I'm going to respond to you or respond to myself when that thing happens. It's not, you can't do this or can't do that, where I think some people try to use that as like, that's the boundary I'm saying you're not allowed.
So the best way I can describe it, and I actually wrote about this in my book, I have a whole chapter, and this is secondhand therapy. And I say that in the book, I didn't coin this, is imagine like a line in the sand. That's the boundary. It's exactly that. A boundary is not saying, Teresa, don't cross over this line. The boundary is, I'm not crossing over this line.
Yes.
It's about how far I'm not willing to go or what I'm not willing to do. And people flip it. They're like, I have a boundary and you're not allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do that and you're not allowed to do that. When the boundary is really like, I'm not stepping over. I will not participate in this.
It's a
if X, Y, and Z
personal
comes.
choice, not a command.
Yeah, it's not a command. A boundary is not about keeping people out, like don't cross my line. A boundary is how far am I willing to walk towards you? I'm stopping here.
Yeah.
That's what the boundary. That's how I live boundaries.
So let's talk for a second about the generation right now. I feel like there's a lot of overuse of boundaries maybe, and I don't know every situation, right? But I've seen this on social media where a lot of the younger generation are cutting off family ties because they say that their boundaries aren't being honored, and they're overusing boundaries. They're actually using it as a form of control. So their family members aren't doing what they want them to do. And so then they're like, okay, we're not going to have any contact with you anymore. We're not going to call. We're not going to go visit. We're not going to do anything until you start doing this or stop doing this. And so I want to talk to you guys about that. What are your thoughts? Do you think that it's being overused, or do you think that the next generation is actually waking up and being good about holding some boundaries?
I think there's once again, spectrum, right? There's a spectrum of anything. I think this generation, I have seen the no contact, right? I've seen people that's like, I've gotten in contact with my family, which like, is there a reason? But I do think at times boundaries are being, overused in that sense. Like, okay, I'm not going to talk to this person because they are overstepping my boundaries, but it's like, okay, so how are they, it's like, there's always never like give the clear reason as to why, and sometimes I feel like sometimes it's like maybe they're stepping up, but I feel like the no contact thing, I don't know. I know Robin is a no contact.
No, I'm not no contact.
Not no contact, but I know there's limited contact.
I wouldn't say limited contact. I would say boundaries.
Boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I still have contact with them, but this is interesting because as a boundaryless woman and not of the younger generation, I've had to learn how to set boundaries, but the setting of the boundaries isn't the hardest part for me. It's the enforcement of the boundaries. So I can say all I want, like, these are my boundaries. This is how far I'm not going to cross this line. If you do this, if you are unfaithful to me, then I'm not going to X, Y, and Z. But the problem is I didn't enforce those. And so I've learned how to just what is a boundary, how to set them, but that's the easy part. Can you enforce your boundaries? So I have had in the last couple of years through big life transitions, as those who have listened here for a long time know, had to set boundaries with people before that I'm still trying to enforce them on a day-to-day basis. And guess what? The people that you are setting boundaries for are going to be the one people who are pissed you're setting boundaries. So it's not
true.
easy. They push back. They criticize me. They gaslight me. they try to make me feel like I'm crazy for setting a boundary. That's a good indicator that you need a boundary with someone, right?
Yeah.
So I have some boundaries that I had to enforce with family, and that's really difficult because you love them. You should always love them, quote unquote. They're part of your life, and
they're worth working through hard.
Can you give an example of one of those boundaries? Because taking the definition that you had of a boundary being something that you personally will not do or, or do. And then, but now we're talking about enforcing them with family. So would you be okay with sharing one of an example?
Yeah. So I had one of the boundaries that I had to enforce was making myself less available for people in my family for certain things.
Okay.
I'm not no contact. I still talk to my parents. I still see my parents, some of the siblings, but there are a few family members that I had to limit my access to for lots of reasons and good reasons. There's a million examples. I'm trying to share one that wouldn't rat anybody out or
I know you have to kind of be careful when it affects other people.
I would say I have in the past been taken advantage of by family members. Okay, I'll give this experience, and I'm going to exclude names. It could be an extended family member too. We're not sure. I constantly get asked, "Hey, can we use your backyard or your house for your pool for so-and-so's birthday party?" And it's like a yes, and it's a yes, and it's a yes. And there's a certain individual that I keep allowing to do that, and then really big issues happen. Like, they are not respectful of my property and leave thousands of dollars of damage. Or that same person in the same week I am allowing them to use my house out of the love of my heart is starting chain messages gossiping about me. Like things like that. And so when I hear those things happen,
they're literally using
me. So I have had to have less access to them. And that also looks like when I have, someone in a family who's actively hurting me and trying to hurt me. And there's past where they have been involved in parts of my life that were the most horrifying, dramatic things. And they were a part of that big transition. A boundary for me is if I only get my kids every other Christmas, I'm not going to bring me and my children to a Christmas where that person is going to be there, where they're actively still trying to harm me.
But family member may see like you saying they may see it as like, okay, you're not bringing your kids around us. Even though you don't want that person around, they're seeing it more like offended, like, well,
it's not even offense. I mean? Like they're like, wow, you're such a baby. Like you can't be around people. But I'm like, oh, I actually can be around people. That's not a problem. I could come right now. The boundary is I respect the work I've done. I respect my energy. I respect the time I have with my children and the limited access that you are the last person I would want to be around. So on a Christmas holiday, I'm not spending it with you.
I'm
going to spend it with people that lift me up, encourage me, don't use me, don't do really horrible things actively to my family. And that's a boundary. And I get criticized of like, you've broken the family apart. You're the problem because you can't be in the same room. And again, I can be in the same room. I will show up in the same room. My boundary is I'm not going to allow myself to do that because every other time that I've done that, it's been a really terrible experience and I just choose not to.
And I wonder the question you asked about like this generation boundary, are they taking it too far? I think what the maybe where it doesn't match it, because I think the older generation was going through a time where they feel like this is easy. This, like, you know what I mean? The thing they've done wasn't meant to hurt people. There wasn't, like, why should we change? And I think now the younger generation is like, okay, I understand you were, you didn't mean to offend, but now these are my boundaries. Are you able to respect those boundaries? Where I think then the older generation is like, no, like, I'm your mom. Like, I'm not gonna, like, because there's some online that I see that are pretty hard. Like, you need, like, have you seen the ones like the new moms and they're like, don't hold my child without my permission. Don't come over without me. There's like, they have this list, which I get it. But sometimes I'm just like, oh, these are for your parents, like for your mom and dad. Like, like if you're going to hold my new baby and I say, give me the baby back, you better give me the baby. Some of them I'm just like, okay, that's seems,
it's controlling.
Yeah. And that's what it says. Boundaries shouldn't be punishment. It shouldn't be about control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be about, creating something to protect yourself but not cause chaos. And I see sometimes that it causes chaos instead of what they're trying to make it happen.
Yeah, it makes sense. a boundary is the perfect excuse for a spoiled person to get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it in that way. If you are a spoiled person that wants things to happen a certain way, just throw the word boundary on it and then threaten to cut them off. Like there's nothing a grandma wouldn't do, right? At least my mom wouldn't do to make sure she still has contact with her kids. So if I were to go to my mom and be like, listen, this is my boundary. You better do this.
Or you're not
going to see your grandkids. My mom would be like, oh, shiz. Okay. Like whatever you want. Boom. I just gained control of my mom.
Yeah.
Oh, then I can use it on this one. Oh, I want my mom to do this. I'm going to leverage the kids and seeing them with getting a demand of mine.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be careful because I think like you can set up boundaries. I think we set boundaries all the time, but we just have to make sure it's not to take control over somebody and control the narrative of your like, you know, and you see it in divorces, right? But of how that can happen. So we just have to be careful where it's not chaos.
Yeah, I think, and sometimes they don't even need to be said. You just do them. So, for example, I have a friend who I often vent. You know, we vent to each other about some of the issues going on in our lives. And sometimes I know that I can get into a place where I'm just like, I'm probably messaging her a little too much. Maybe I'm relying a little bit too much on her having to listen to my problems. And she's so great about it. Like I know when she set a boundary because I'll like text her a bunch and she just doesn't reply. And she might reply. She might reply the next day, and she'll say, and she's always very kind about it. She's like, "Hey, I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get back to you yesterday, but I was just spending time with my family."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's a great boundary.
That's great. That's great.
I understand. I got through it. This is what happened. I never like, I can't believe you didn't respond to my texts when I needed you.
I really needed you.
Yeah. I get it. Like, and I understand that she needed a place to just have some space from my text venting.
Yeah. And
right.
And with this episode, I think what we are trying to say is that, you know, everybody's a therapist, I feel like, online. So I think
including us.
Right? It's not saying not to use the words. I think it's just trying to make sure that, because I always says we say it's in Africans, it takes a village, but also you have to be a villager if you want a village. Okay.
That's one of my favorite things I've seen on social media lately is the post about villagers. Like you have to do things you don't want to do. Yeah. Nobody wants to go clean up the throw up. Nobody wants to change the sheets. Nobody wants to, do the uncomfortable things. But sometimes you just have to grow up and do them.
Yeah.
And it takes a villager. You have to be a villager.
You have to be a villager. And I think just don't overuse the words because, then we all will be narcissists with no boundaries, triggered all the time and working around like a hot mess. So yeah. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us on this episode. It was short and sweet. So see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
See you then.
Bye.
Thanks for joining our Brave Conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave a positive review and subscribe to this podcast for more Brave Conversations. We encourage you to be brave and continue the conversation on our social media platforms everywhere at The Brave Talk Show. See you next week.